Hello guys, my name is Bella. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be giving you guys a bit of a part 2 to the Fordham College video that I made almost a year ago at this point. I've been getting a lot of questions and things in the comment section of that video and of my dorm room video. If you haven't watched those two videos, those will be in the iCard up above. Be sure to check those out. I thought I would just like compile all of that into one video. That way I just have another resource for you guys to look through, just in case you guys are like interested in Fordham, trying to figure out what New York college you want to go to, you want the information, I'm here to give it to you. Before we jump into the video, be sure to go down below and click that subscribe button because I'm about to give you some real tea on Fordham University. And with that, let's get into the video. If you didn't know, I am finishing up my second year at Fordham and I'm going to be a junior this coming fall. Can you believe it? Time is really flying. I don't even get it. Oh my goodness. Okay, first let's talk about the city life. So Fordham Lincoln Center and Fordham Rose Hill are located in New York City. Fordham Rose Hill is located in the Bronx and Fordham Lincoln Center is located in Manhattan. I go to Lincoln Center, so all of my advice and information will be based in Lincoln Center. For Lincoln Center, it is in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, so it is very central. There's a lot of things to access, and the city life is very strong, very prominent. You feel like you're in New York City in that area. It's not chill, I won't even lie. There are constantly people just because we're right next to Central Park. So there are tourists everywhere. Columbus Circle is also a block away, so there are tourists, again, everywhere. Considering that Lincoln Center also is just in the center of the city and is just 4 buildings, 2 dorms and 2 school buildings, you really feel like you're just in the middle of a city and you're just in this building for a class and then you have something to go do somewhere else. Next, let's talk about the feeling of community that Lincoln Center and Fordham has. Fordham in general is not a traditional campus. Rose Hill definitely is more traditional than Lincoln Center, but at Lincoln Center, there really is no traditional college experience in terms of like the community and the way that you think it would function. So like tailgates, just not a thing. Hello? We don't really care about sports literally at all. Everybody's kind of like vibing and doing their own thing, and that's just kind of how the school works because of the type of people that attend the school. New York City is prominent for a few things, and that is the arts, and then it's prominent for business. Those are pretty much the 2 types of people that are at Lincoln Center for the most part. Obviously there are people in the middle. This is just my general overview. The community feeling that you would expect from a normal college, in that everybody's just in their late teens to early 20s and we're all kind of just figuring it out. Yes, everybody is just kind of figuring it out, but everybody also has a very clear plan of what they want to do. So it's not the same community feeling because everybody is actively going out and doing what they want to do. So like the finance kid who's like 3rd year in the business school, he's going to his internship. That's the level. So the community feeling just isn't there as much because people have other things going on. So it's definitely not, in any sense, a traditional campus at all. Not even a little bit. It's just a vibe, and it's just not gonna be the same as the state school where you live, and it's just not gonna be the same as a school on a typical campus. Going along with that, at Lincoln Center, people do more things outside of school than they do in school. When you're thinking about like university and college run like clubs and things, it's not as big either because people are already going out to do those things. There are for sure some prominent clubs at Fordham that do actively like participate, like student government and like the newspaper and stuff like that, but I just think that a lot of people are more likely to go out and just go do the thing that they want to go do. That's kind of the vibe that we have at Lincoln Center. Is just like, you want to be a banker? Why join an investment banking club when you can just get an internship at an investment bank? That I think is a really good way to like get that through. Another thing about Fordham that I've gotten a lot in my comment section is the religious aspect of the school. Just to be clear, yes, Fordham is a Jesuit university, but especially at Lincoln Center, the religion aspect is like, it's fine. And every religion is welcome at Fordham. You do not need to be Christian. You do not need to be Catholic. You don't need to do any religious studies in your high school. If the Catholic aspect is what is making you confused about Fordham, I think you should just realize that that is not something you should really consider, because it's just not a thing. Yes, the school is next to a church. And yes, we have fathers as our deans. However, it's not made to be religious in the way that you're thinking it is. Yes, you're gonna have to take a theology class. Yes, you're gonna have to take a philosophy class, but realistically, that's just, in my opinion, that's kind of just the same as any other liberal arts school. You just don't get to choose as much. When I was picking Fordham, I knew that it was Catholic, but I didn't know to what extent they were Catholic, so I was gonna like throw myself into the fire if they were super Catholic. But I'm letting you know, as a person who's taking interest in trying to figure out what college they should go to, that Fordham just is not that crazy about being Catholic. And finally, another thing about Fordham, Fordham is a small school in New York City. I decided to go to Fordham because it was the school that I got into. I'm being completely honest, it wasn't my first choice. But I do have to say that I really love that Fordham is a small school, because I feel like you get the opportunity to meet way more people because you're constantly around them. So it's almost like it's by force that you must talk to them. Especially if you're a business student like I am, they really make it a point that you're gonna be seeing the same faces over and over and over again. So you're gonna talk to a lot of people, or be at the very least familiar with a majority of the people, which I genuinely appreciate. There is a certain level of comfort that comes with having a small school, because you know most of the people, you see them and you feel comfortable, instead of sitting in a lecture hall of 800 people all taking your English 101 class. That's just not a thing at Fordham. And it's especially, I think, good for people who are scared about making friends. Eventually, you're gonna make friends solely due to the fact that you're around the same people so much that you're gonna find some people that you have things in common with, just out of the sheer proximity that you are in. So now let's move on to some other general things that I just want to update you guys on, just so that you're getting the most up-to-date information that you can, or just what to expect since you already picked Fordham. Snaps for you on that one. So next we're going to talk about the dorming situation. The dorming situation has changed. A lot of you probably watched my dorm tour. In my video, I explained that there are doubles and there are triples in the McKeon freshman building, and that I recommend that if you are a freshman, go request the McKeon freshman building. There needs to be an asterisk next to that. Fordham is a very quickly growing school. A lot of people are trying to go to Fordham now, especially Lincoln Center, because it's in the center of Manhattan. It's a very good education. And with more students, means more students need housing. But the problem is that there aren't more buildings to house students in, and the buildings were already relatively full when I was a freshman. In the McKeon building, there are doubles, triples, but there are also forced triples and forced quads. A forced triple is a room that was meant for a double, but they added another bed into the room. So now 3 people are in a 2-person room. This can be achieved by bunk beds on 2 and then 1 single bed. I don't know how else they would finesse trying to lay 3 beds out flat, but maybe they could have. And then forced quads. A forced quad is having triple bedroom forced into a 4-person bedroom. So that would look like 2 bunk beds next to each other, so 4 people can live in that room. When I was an orientation leader last year, which I'm gonna be again, if you see my video, please say hi to me. Oh my God, I would love to see y'all, talk to you. I would like more friends. Let's be friends. Anyway, so those room styles are in McKeon currently. Even though there are forced rooms, in my opinion, I would still choose McKeon as a freshman dorm, because like I said, you're around more people. I just think that it would be an overall better decision for your social life and your growth at Fordham. So yes, there are options for bunk beds, guys. So in that vein, I would say make sure you get to your orientation and move-in date as fast as possible. Like, be the first person so you get to pick your bed just in case you get put into a forced room, okay? Just a thought. Let's talk about the McMahon dorm next. McMahon dorms also have forced rooms. McMahon is apartment style dorms, so there's anywhere from 3 to 6 non-forced people to be living in an apartment. But McMahon, they have a lot of forced rooms because they kind of swung it that way. So I didn't have a forced apartment at all, but I knew people who did. So in McMahon, there are forced doubles, forced triples, and I think there are forced quads. I don't know how many people they're allowed to have in that room at once. I'm only saying this just so you guys are aware of the fact that there is a potential for you to have a forced room, but I still think that really shouldn't deter you, because at the end of the day, McKeon dorms and McMahon dorms are probably, depending on what you value, better than a lot of the dorms at other colleges. No communal bathrooms. In McMahon, you're basically living in an apartment by yourself and your friends. In McKeon, the view, literally, some people will never be able to have that kind of view in their life again. I just think there are a lot more pros for living in the dorms than cons to living in the dorms. But if you do end up choosing to live in McMahon, I will tell you what that experience is like. It is the most unlike a college experience ever because it is apartments. You're essentially just living in an apartment building. So you of course have floor meetings and have an RA and all of these things, but you're never gonna see people sitting in the hallway like you would in McKeon. It's just not gonna be the same. It's gonna be much quieter sounding, like, and not because, oh, people don't like do things, people aren't loud, just like it's quieter because it's like an apartment. But I mean, if you really value like having a kitchen and like having all of these things, then maybe McMahon might be the smartest choice for like you as a person and your personality. You, again, you know yourself best to like make decisions that are best based on what you are. This is just me advising you. Okay, let's move on to the whole there are two campuses thing. This is something that I think Fordham pushes really hard, but like it's low-key kind of confusing in my own brain. I don't know why. It like was not me processing it when I was trying to apply for the school. But yes, there are two campuses, Lincoln Center and Rose Hill. Rose Hill is in the Bronx, Lincoln Center is in Manhattan. I get a lot of questions about how often people commute back and forth between campuses, and do people from Lincoln Center often go to Rose Hill and vice versa. So I'm gonna tell you the real tea. Okay, there is a shuttle service called the Ram Van that goes between both campuses straight. Like from Lincoln Center to Rose Hill, from Rose Hill to Lincoln Center. It just goes back and forth and back and forth, okay? It costs a little bit of money to get on the Ram Van, super cheap. It's a little bit more expensive than a subway ticket, so like you might as well. It's much safer, it's much more convenient. One of the reasons a lot of people go back and forth between campuses is because they have a class at the other campus. So like my friend Emmy Co had like 1 or 2 classes over at Rose Hill. Every class day she would get up, go on the Ram Van and go to Rose Hill and take her class and then come back. That is the majority, I would say, of the reason why people are using the Ram Van is because they have a class. People also do use the Ram Van because some people have friends at other campuses, for sure. And then a lot of people from Lincoln Center, depending on your friend group vibe, go to Rose Hill to go to the bars and stuff like that. That is really the amount of like crossbreeding that happens between the campuses. Most of the time, if you're a Lincoln Center student, you're not the kind of person that wants to go to Rose Hill because it's just not your vibe. So why would you go to Rose Hill? Because Rose Hill's more traditional, it's more of a normal college. So like, why would you go to a normal college if your whole entire purpose of going to Lincoln Center was to not be at a normal college? It just doesn't really make any sense. I think I went to Rose Hill maybe max 2 times the entire semester only to go to bar. Not very many people go over for a club meeting. Not very many people go over to do sports. Fordham also is just not a sports school, so no, people at Lincoln Center are not going for a sports game. There just are not that many reasons that people from Lincoln Center are going to Rose Hill and vice versa, because it's just not the same vibe at all. It's just not. Okay, next thing, classes. LOL, we're getting into the boring stuff that I gross. So I'm just gonna clear up the things that I didn't know about classes and that you won't really find out until you start chatting with people and get your class schedule. So the way that classes are timed at Fordham are actually very unique. I like it because I just think it's hilarious, so I like it, but it's basically a high school, because all of the classes start and end at the same time and are all 1 hour and 15 minutes or 3 hours. Those are your options for class times and lengths. For example, the first class of the day starts at 8:30 a.m. That is the earliest class. It runs till 9:45. Then from 9:45 to 10 o'clock, there is a break where you change between your classrooms and go to your next classroom, because most of the time people have their classes booked back to back, especially since the classes are so short. Like, you can sit through a class or two for a little bit. Those 15 minutes are basically designed for you to go from like floor 8 to floor 5 and go sit in your seat and continue to your next lecture, essentially. And then from 10 to 11:15, and then there's another 15-minute break, and then it's 11:30 to 12:45. So that kind of class schedule kind of ends at your typical like work end day. So it starts at 8:30 and then the last class finishes at 5:15. And then there are night classes which start at 6. So that's how that class is kind of split up. And night classes are primarily for continuing education, universities, for grad students or undergrad, but like professional undergrad. So they have a job during the day and then they come to school at night. There are positives and negatives to the way that Fordham chooses to do their class schedule. The positive is that you and your friends are always going to pretty much be in sync when it comes to having time to hang out and when who's free where. And of course, if you're like me and my friend group who love to do everything together, it's really good for making the exact same schedule, even if you have different majors, because you just fill in time blocks kind of the same. And then you're basically free at the exact same time, even though you have different classes. So that's really good. I kind of like that all of the classes are like that, but the negative, it is high school vibes. Thankfully, there is not a bell to dismiss you. You look at the clock and go, up, it's 2:15, time for me to go. But it is high school vibes because there's really one major class building, and so everybody gets out of the classroom at the same time. So it's like changing classrooms in high school where everybody's flooding the hallways at the exact same time. And then once the class time hits, it's like everybody's out of the hallway again, which can make getting places hell on earth because like the elevator's constantly packed. But I like it for the efficiency of scheduling because it just it's always worked out in my favor. And I also appreciate that the classes are short because I physically can't bring myself to sit through more than an hour and 15 minutes of class anymore at this point without just completely turning off. Also, a thing that they do have on Thursday, again, high school vibes. They have a thing called activity block, which runs between like 12 and 2:15, where there are no classes that operate during that time. Like, they're not allowed. You cannot. That time is supposed to be designated for club meetings and stuff like that. Not every single club meets on that time block on that day, because then how would you be a part of more than one club? So obviously that's not really how it goes. A lot of people do schedule their club meetings during that time because they know that you don't have class, because no one has class during that time. But activity block is like, this is your 2-hour break in the middle of the day. Go have fun. So that is very interesting. And I just didn't understand it. I was like, why can't I find classes on Thursday at this time? And then they're like, there are none. They do not exist. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's very nice to have some built-in free time that you didn't even ask for, because honestly, some free time is better than no free time. So guys, those were my like extra little like everything you need to know about Fordham. Those are some filling in some gaps and some questions that I had from my last video. If you have not seen my last video, be sure to check it out because I feel like that's going to give you more context. It goes over more of the basic things about Fordham. This was a little bit more in depth, so definitely go watch that video if you have not already. Also check out my dorm tour so you can see what the McKeon dorms look like, and check out my other dorm tours so you can see what the McMahon dorms look like, and then you can make your judgment based on that. Smart decisions. We like basing our ideas on smart decisions. So I also am going to be an orientation leader this coming fall semester because that is the only joy that I get out of the entire school process. So if you see me, please say hi. If I am your orientation leader, please say hi. I make these videos for you guys. Imagine that. I'm not making these for me. I already go there. I don't need to know this information because I already know it. I make it for you. So guys, if you like the video, make sure to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe down below because it helps me out a lot. And don't forget to ring that little bell once you've subscribed so you'll be the first to watch when I upload a new video. Until next time, bye guys.